Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips a balance in favor of fair use. RPF consistencies and variations. While the RPF stories that former members recount show remarkable consistencies over time and distance, variations occur with respect to facilities, personnel, and immediate organizational demands. Virtually all of the accounts, however, illustrate how the RPF attempted to control the bodies of its inmates through a variety of physical demands, abuses in work, obligations, while at the same time it attempted to control their minds through extensive auditing, coursework, confessions, and success stories. Assembling the affidavits, interviews, internet postings, and correspondence that I have collected, I have 2 RPF accounts from the Apollo, the ship on which Hubbard lived from 1967 to 1975. 7 from the Fort Harrison Hotel Complex in Clearwater, Florida. 1 from La Quinta, California. 1 from Indio, California. 4 from Gilman Hot Springs, California, which informants sometimes call either Hemet, after the nearby town, or Gold, according to the Scientology name. 2 from the Happy Valley Camp near Gilman Hot Springs and the Saboba Indian Reserve, 2 from the Cedars Complex in Los Angeles, 1 from an unnamed ship dock near Los Angeles, 1 from East Grinstad, Sussex, and 1 from an RPF forerunner in Copenhagen, Denmark. 5 informants went through the RPF's RPF, 1 on the Apollo, 2 in the Fort Harrison Complex, and 2 in either Gilman Hot Springs or Happy Valley. 1. Forcible confinement. Forcible confinement, which is one of the prerequisites for social scientists utilizing the brainwashing term, specifically occurred in 9 RPF accounts and 2 RPF's RPF accounts. Indeed, 7 informants had stories about their sometimes successful escape attempts from the program and the guards assigned to prevent them from doing so. These accounts stand in stark contrast to Scientology's insistence that participation in an RPF program is voluntary. For example, Dennis Ehrlich's experience in the RPF and the RPF's RPF at the Fort Harrison in late 1978 began with 2 guards arriving to escort him to the program. He did not resist them because it was sort of implicit that if you want to fight, you're going to get the shit kicked out of you. On the other side of the continent, at roughly the same period, Patty had 2 big burly men show up and say, "You're going on the RPF." Former member David Mayo told a more dramatic story in his affidavit, insisting that on August 29, 1982, David Miscavige and others, acting on the orders of L. Ron Hubbard, kidnapped me and subsequently kept me captive and physically and mentally abused me for 6 months. Imagine the children that are going through it. Other people spoke about either being forcibly confined themselves, for example, Whitfield in 1989, or seeing others who were. Former member turned critic, Dennis Ehrlich, joked about his RPF assignment, and in accordance with Hubbard's policy, wound up in the RPF's RPF in Fort Harrison's basement. Guarded down there for 10 days, Ehrlich states that he spent the first day or two locked in a wired cage. When Nefertiti, which is the presumed former member alias, found herself in the RPF's RPF in the same basement, a decade or so later, she met a woman she claims who was in her 30s, feverish. Her entire body poured with sweat and was wearing chains. She had a chain about 20 inches long, linking her two ankles, so she had to do small, hasty steps. Tonya Burden swore under pains and penalties of perjury that she personally observed a person chained to pipes in the boiler room in the Fort Harrison building for a period of weeks. Likewise, in an affidavit, Hannah Whitfield swore that, while she was on the RPF in Fort Harrison, Lynn Froyland was assigned to the RPF's RPF and was chained to a pipe down there in the basement for weeks. Under guard, she was taken meals and allowed toilet breaks, but no other hygiene. The most extensive account from confinement comes from former member Andrei Tabayoyan, who spoke about the Gilman Hot Springs base on which RPF members worked, having a security system that included the perimeter fence, the ultra-razor barriers, the lighting of the perimeter fence, electronic monitors, the concealed microphones, the ground sensors, the motion sensors and hidden cameras, which were installed all over the area, even outside the base. Tabayoyan spoke about working on the base's security system in 1991. Back in January 1983, unwilling RPF victim Julie Mayo found her freedom blocked by a guarded fence at Gilman Hot Springs. Taking what may have been the only escape option she had, Julie Mayo waited one morning until the guard opened the gate to allow someone to walk across the street for breakfast and slipped out to the road unnoticed before it closed. And government officials have no idea that this is going on, right? Hello. Other escape stories indicated that RPF victims were essentially imprisoned in situations where they had not given consent, much less informed consent, for their captors to hold them. Vicky Azanaran, for example, and two other victims escaped from Happy Valley. Onto the Saboba Indian Reservation, where they were pursued on motorcycles by guards of Happy Valley. Vicky and the other victims were rescued by residents of the reservation, who picked them up in a pickup truck and spirited them to a motel in the city of Hemet. And the Hemet police have no idea this is going on either, right? Former member Pat escaped by using several elaborate ruses. First, she concocted a story that convinced guards to allow her to use the telephone. Then she called a non-Scientology friend and gave explicit instructions about where her friend should be the next night. The next night, she concocted a second story that managed to get her near to the street where her friend was waiting. Manipulating the guard who was with her, Pat managed to get enough distance from him so that she got inside the car, slammed the door shut, and said, "Go." My friend hit the door locks, and the friend stepped on the gas. It was an awful, awful time. And there I was in this car, not knowing where I was going, 40 cents in my purse. But I couldn't be there anymore. I couldn't be there another minute. I couldn't handle another second of the degradation. As the car roared away, Scientologists who witnessed her escape screamed at her. Other escape accounts exist, all of them indicating that people were in the RPF program against their wills. Like children. Nevertheless, some people allowed themselves to be talked back into the program or into a related program by Scientology retrieval teams sent out to bring them back. As Ann Rosenblum recounted, for example, she escaped the RPF from the Fort Harrison in Clearwater by slipping out of sickbay and jumping over a wall. She fled to the house of a Scientology friend who apparently informed the organization. There is no loyalty, you guys. Who apparently informed the organization and along with 4 Scientology escorts, convinced her to return and route out of the Sea Org through standard Scientology procedures. In a confused emotional state, she returned to the Fort Harrison and remained under guard as she went through a number of Scientology hearings. In preparation for the organization releasing her, Hubbard happened to offer general amnesty to RPFers at this moment, and she and several others accepted the offer. She indicated that the organization ran her through security checks concerning whether we were taking any Scientology data with us. We got to clean up the crimes, you know. Scientologists searched her luggage for any items that she might have been trying to remove, then had her sign an affidavit that listed all of her alleged crimes of this lifetime, which the organization culled from her supposedly confidential auditing files. They have child auditors for that one? I wonder. Robert Vaughn Young informed me that he escaped down the riverbed one night, planned it for a long time, got into Hemet, and they, i.e. members of Scientology retrieval team, those are the handlers, found me at a motel. And this is where you get into the power of the organization. And without anyone laying a hand on me, I was convinced to go back to the RPF. On a second escape attempt, however, he was not so lucky. He got caught. Apparently, Hannah Whitfield also escaped the RPF in Clearwater, but she too re-entered after pressure from Scientologists who found her. Current Scientology opponent Lawrence Larry Wollersheim also was caught trying to escape from the RPF, operating on a ship, presumably in the Los Angeles area, in 1974, as a court decision in his favor determined. Ultimately, Wollersheim felt he could bear the RPF regime no longer. He attempted to escape from the ship because, as he testified later, I was dying and losing my mind. But his escape effort was discovered. Several Scientology members seized Wollersheim and held him captive. They released him only when he agreed to remain and continue with the auditing and other religious practices taking place on the vessel. Just want to interject. Remember how many sexual assaults of the young girls happened on the Apollo? No mention of that, of course. The court used this example as evidence that Wollersheim accepted some of his auditing under threat of physical coercion. While it would be unwise to generalize from these accounts and suggest that all inmates in RPF programs were in them involuntarily, certainly some of them had not consented or chosen to be here, well, especially the children.